It's the Tony Tone Show on the Mocklink Celebrity Hotline. My next guest you can see in Season 2 of Stranger Things on Netflix. He also has a brand new series that he has created. We're going to talk about all of that and more. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Reiser. Hello.
Tony.
Paul Reiser, you are officially, at this moment, sir, 3 hours and 45 minutes away from the birthplace of Johnny Carson.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I get in my car now.
Yes.
And I drive for 3 hours and another 45 minutes, you're saying I'll be in Norfolk, Nebraska.
Well, close enough. Well, I mean, I guess from where I am, Paul Reiser, it's 3 hours and 45 minutes to Corning, Iowa, which I think is where Johnny was officially born.
Oh, he was born in Iowa.
Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy? So born in Iowa and then obviously was in Nebraska for a lot of his life. And I just thought maybe that would be a factoid that you could take away from
that is an unbelievable factoid. In fact, I'm going to get in my car now and drive it to see how accurate you are. Maybe it'll take me 2.5 hours, and I'll have to correct you.
Well, please keep me abreast if that's the case.
Yes, Johnny Carson. I have been living and breathing a lot of Johnny Carson lately.
I was going to say, so I watched a couple trailers or previews for There's Johnny, which officially kicks off November 16th on Hulu, which I am a subscriber of, Paul Reiser.
Perfect, thank you.
I can't wait to watch There's Johnny because I miss. Now, I didn't really grow up with Johnny Carson. I'm only 34, but I'm a fan of interviews, so I've watched a lot of Carson. And there's nobody like Johnny Carson on television right now. And that's not that's no disrespect to everybody else.
No.
But
that's really true. And listen, everybody out there, from Jimmy Fallon to Jimmy Kimmel and Conan, would tell you the same thing. They would say, listen, we all grew up watching Johnny. We learned it from Johnny. We probably got the bug to want to be a comic from watching Johnny. And I know to a large extent I did as well. He was masterful. And this show takes place in 1972, which was sort of 10 years into his 30-year run. And we picked 72 because that's when the show moved from New York to Burbank, California.
Sure.
And that kind of launched the show into a bigger. It really took off in another way at that time, and it was also a very busy political time. It was Vietnam and Watergate, and beginning of feminism and sort of continuing of the cultural clashes that were like from the late 60s. But what was underlined for me watching all these clips is how much of truly a unifier he was. Everybody could see what they wanted in Johnny. He was hip, but he was also very down home and Midwest. He was comfortable. He was really conservative, but he was also a little racy at the same time, and just naughty enough. And then a lot of the sexual jokes were just dirty enough to raise an eyebrow, but they were clean. And he was, as you say, a masterful interviewer. And so our show takes place behind the scenes, and it's behind the scenes of the Johnny Carson show. And it's about a kid, a 19-year-old kid from Nebraska, who finds his way out to California thinking he has a job there, only to find out he's got nothing at all. They never heard of him. And it was a silly mistake, which we explained. But he ends up sticking around the office long enough, and before you know it, they say, oh, look, just come back tomorrow. And sure enough, he's working there. But so it's really about this kid who's finding his way in life, and he's never been off the farm, literally.
Sure.
And here he is now in the middle of Hollywood, thrown into a Hollywood show business, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And first person he meets is the woman who's sort of in charge of him at work, this 24-year-old producer woman, a young woman whose job it is to get the guests for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And he's never seen a woman like her. Who's just from another planet. And she's never seen anybody as kind of pure and unformed as this kid is. So it's really about these two young people and what's their life and this chaos of making a show. But we get to use actual clips from Johnny, because we were partnered with the Carson Company. They were nice enough and they trusted me enough to take Johnny's legacy and work with it. And so we get to put out, in our show, you see pieces of Johnny and his guests. And so it really brings in, I think, people who miss Johnny, like I know I do.
Sure.
And there are many people. There are just, every time I talk about the show, people go, oh, man, I miss him. And at the same time, if you're of a certain age and you're 25 and you've never heard of Johnny, you'll find out about him. But you don't need to. You don't need to know anything about him. It's not about Johnny. It's about it's about some really universal stuff. It's about some finding yourself in a very tough world.
And I'll tell you what, the cast is tremendous. I mean, Tony Danza just totally. At first, I did. At first, Paul, I recognized Tony Danza, but then I'm just lost in the character because he. I mean, that's a guy that, I was surprised to see him, and then I can't wait to watch There's Johnny because he seems like he bought all in. Oh, my gosh.
Tony Danza, who went to University of Iowa.
That's right.
Tony is the only one who plays a real person. He plays Johnny's producer, Freddie DeCordova, who America all got to see because he was always in the wings, and he'd always be sitting there with his cigarette and his martini and laughing gregariously, and he was a bigger-than-life character, and Tony knew him very well. So everybody else, though, is fictitious. And Johnny, we never cast Johnny. You don't see, there's no actor playing Johnny. Sure. The only time you see him is in the footage. And when I did this show a whole bunch of times back in the 80s and very early 90s, because Johnny packed it in 92. He went off the air.
Yeah.
But whenever I was there, he was always so gracious and wonderfully supportive, especially for comedians. He loves comedians. Mm-hmm. But I didn't hang out with him. You never saw him. He wasn't in the halls. But you sensed when he was walking. You just there would be like the president's coming. Everybody, you just move, and like he would just get free reign of the whole. And so I'd stick my head out, and you'd see the back of his head disappear onto the stage.
Wow.
He's rounding a corner. So he was this mythical figure that you knew he's there, but you can't quite see him. And that's how we play him in the show. He's just very much a presence.
Well, again,
I'm really proud of this. I've been working on this a long time, and I'm not in it. I wrote it with my friend and produced it, and we got such great actors and great directors. David Gordon Green, who was a terrific director, we had done another show together called Red Oaks, which is on Amazon.
Sure.
But he's a really smart director, and he came on board and made this with me, and I couldn't be more proud of it.
Well, again, it's There's Johnny premieres November 16th on Hulu. We don't have a lot of time, but I have to tell you, Paul, when I started to watch Season 2 of Stranger Things, I was so happy to see you on that. It was tremendous. And I just was going to see if I could, turbo go through a couple questions from your fans on Facebook that they wanted me to ask.
Go ahead, sure.
All right, so we don't have a lot of time, but Parker says, how did playing Burke in Aliens compare to playing Owens on Stranger Things? Feel like there's genuine good in Owens at points despite being a shady company man.
Yeah, when I got in Aliens, I knew the story, and I knew that he was sort of a sneaky guy who was trying to be nice. In Stranger Things, they never told me how it ends. They said, we're not going to be sure if you're good or bad. And I went, well, but you can tell me. I said, no. He said, no, we can't. And so I never knew, literally until we got to the end, and I got the last script, because they were writing as they were shooting them.
Wow.
So I was kind of as confused or as uncertain as the audience was, which is really kind of a fun way to work. I went, I don't know if I'm telling the truth, or I could be just totally BSing them here.
Well, it's such a great role, and I was so happy to see you there. And I can't wait for everybody, Paul, to check out There's Johnny. If you don't have Hulu, get signed up. November 16th is going to be here quick. And
Next week, yes.
Yeah.
Sign up today and have a 12-year-old explain you how to navigate it. And and it's really a terrific and very special kind of show. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for taking the time to talk.
You too, Paul Reiser. Have a great weekend, buddy. Take care.